All right. Hey, I'm Coach Leonard. We're back with another interview session, and today we're here with Christian Tippette. So, Christian Tippette, can you introduce us and introduce yourself to us and tell us a little bit about yourself, like what city you're from, what high school, and some of your high school personal bests?
All right. I'm from Rocky Mount, North Carolina, right where Wesleyan is located. I went to high school in Northern Nash. It's about probably, I don't even know, 10 minutes down the road from Wesleyan. Um, my personal best in high school, for the 5K, it was 16:03. For the mile, it was 49, 30 something like that. And then we didn't have an 8K then, so yeah, those are all my personal best for high school.
Okay. And I know that right after high school, you went to college. So tell us about that.
Yeah. Me and my buddy Jermaine Jones, who is out of state. I think he's in South Carolina now, but we got recruited by Lewisburg College in high school. We didn't really get started. Didn't get recruited by them until probably mid to late of our senior season. We had Coach Jay over at Lewisburg. He came and he saw a couple of our track meets. I think it was indoor track where he came and he really recruited us hard. Um, and he just said some things that we liked. And then me and Jermaine took, I think, about a month before we really decided where we wanted to go. And we went ahead and committed to Lewisburg. Um, the team. We went, I think we ranked third in the nation at one point. Ran for the national championship. I think we finished either sixth or eighth in the nation, which isn't bad. Then after that, had some had some certain issues and had to leave there and went to a community college for a year, and that's when you started recruiting me after that.
Okay. Um, so you sat out for 2 years right
Hmm.
after Lewisburg. You didn't do anything for Lewisburg.
Yeah.
What did you do? What did you do in those 2 years?
I think just work. I worked over at Food Line, which is right beside Wesleyan, actually. I may have had one or two other jobs. I don't even remember them. But other than that, really just worked. Played some other sports, rec wise around the county and everything. But other than that, it wasn't much.
One of the funniest things I think about my time recruiting you is just going over to Food Line and harassing you while you were stocking shelves.
Yeah, yeah.
Did that
Did
probably
it a
about a
couple
year.
times. Yeah, yeah. Did it a lot.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of that's the obvious question, but why did you pick Wesleyan to come run with it?
Um, Wesleyan, it wasn't a choice of that was the only option. I will say that because, um, there was other opportunities for me. I actually got recruited, not necessarily recruited, but at one point I thought about playing soccer in college, and I sent an email out to Barton College, which is in Wilson, and the coach actually asked me to come out there and try out and pretty much try and get an open spot on the team. I never ended up doing it because I wasn't necessarily sure about that. But once you started recruiting me for Wesleyan, I was always intrigued by Wesleyan. Sitting here in Rocky Mount, it was always there, always past it. I've been there for dance competitions and sporting events and everything else. Actually, went there for a soccer camp many years ago. But Wesleyan, I mean, obviously it's home, and a lot of people can say that, but not really mean it. But here, it's actually home for me and a lot of people on the team. But just something that's new. For me, it was a new school, and for the school, it was a new program starting up. I think it was in its second year when I came here. So it was all very, very interesting, and it just intrigued me to want to join it and see where we could take it from there.
Not a lot of people know this, but me and you our history kind of goes back a little bit farther because I was coaching at Nash Central High School and you were at Northern, and you were actually our competition. Uh, yeah, you kind of beat some of our guys, and
Yeah,
I
we beat
didn't
up
like
on
that
y'all
so
a
much.
little
I
bit.
didn't
Yeah,
like
we
it.
beat up on y'all a little bit.
But yeah, so I don't even know what year did you graduate? 15.
Yeah, 2015.
So I think we've kind of known each other vaguely since 2013, give or take.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's been a while. And you're a junior this year, so you have next year. Next year will be your senior year, but
Hmm.
you also after that, depending on your academics where you stand, if you'll be able to graduate, then you will have an extra year, or not a year, but your spring semester the year after that to compete because of the NCAA, you know, allowing us to have one more semester because of the
Yeah.
coronavirus. All right, so
Yeah.
next question is, tell me a fun experience with running. It could be a practice, a really fun practice, or a hard practice, or a really hard run, or a fun run that you've done, or a fun experience.
Um, if we're talking about here at Wesleyan, I would say honestly, there's a lot of interesting ones. Not necessarily fun, but there's if I would say fun, it would probably just be either the competitive speed days, um, with like 200s, a bunch of 200s. I think that's interesting, or 400s. I think that's fun because there's a lot of little inner competition on the team. But there's also days when we do ultimate frisbee and all that, which I'm very competitive. So ultimate frisbee to me is it's a lot of fun to me, and I think a lot of the teammates like it as well. But I mean, there's runs practices when we just run and just find stuff, find new trails, or just find areas to run in. Um, I mean, a lot of the runs, for especially for the guys, I don't know necessarily about the girls, but for the guys, it's just talking about everything, whether it's weird stuff or personal stuff. I mean, we usually always have a good time running together.
Yeah. I missed the question that I'm sorry to jump back. There was a question I did want to ask you. You are a college transfer. So looking at the transfer coming from one program to another program, how was that for you? Was it a smooth transition? Could you tell a difference in the types of programs? Or how was your, because we bring in transfers all the time here. Right now we've got 3 or 4 on the team, and we're looking to bring in some more next year. So people are always asking what's it like as a transfer.
For me, I think it was pretty smooth for me. Main part of that probably wasn't being at home, so I won't necessarily going to another state or another school that was just really far away. Um, but I've always thought, with no disrespect with Lewisburg, I've always thought that the professors at Wesleyan were um, not nicer, but were a lot more in tune with what was going on. Lewisburg was a small school as well, but the professors at Wesleyan are helping you. And then the equipment and everything at Wesleyan to me is a lot nicer. Lewisburg it was a good school, it was a nice school, but the weight room and all that was a little outdated to me, and we didn't have a track there as well. But even the tracks that we get to practice on at Wesleyan are nicer than the one we got to practice on at Lewisburg. So the transition for me was pretty smooth. Nothing too hard. But just the guys at Wesleyan, I guess that made it a lot easier as well. Kind of knowing them from high school, running against them, so it was smooth for me.
Okay. All right, that's cool. So have you ever had an injury running
Um,
wise?
I've never really had an injury. I've never broke an ankle. I've never broken a bone in my entire life or anything. Knock on wood. But
About
I
sprained
had
ankles?
yeah sprained ankles here and there. But I mean, I've always ran through a sprained ankle every once in a while. I had MRSA in my knee from high school. I had surgery on that. it was like an open knee surgery where they just kind of went in and got rid of whatever was inside of it and then kind of patched it back up. But even then, I had a meet 2 days later with an open hole in my knee, and I went and ran that, which wasn't a good idea, but I still ran anyways. But other than that, no real serious injuries.
That's good. I remember when I was in high school, I had gotten to a car wreck and I had an injured ankle. And I went to the doctor the day of a track meet, and they were going to give me a cortisone shot. And they said, you can't do any physical activity for 24 hours. And I said, hey, whoa, I've got a track meet today. And they said, well, you won't be able to run today. And I said, well, you're not giving me a shot today. And
Yeah.
you know, that's the type of mentality that we're looking for in our kids. Kids are gonna be tough. So this year and past couple years, we've gone to the Disney Classic and ran on ESPN3. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience and what you thought of that?
Oh, I love that race. It's definitely a race that I circle on the calendar each year. Um, It it's just the competitive spirit out there with schools from all over the country makes it super interesting and super intriguing. Um, I just, being in Florida, being in Orlando, being around the worldwide sports there in Orlando, it just makes it fun, makes it interesting, and makes you want to run as fast as you can. But other than that, outside of that, when we go to Disney World or we went to Universal this past year. It's just fun being able to hang out with the guys after a race, especially a race of that caliber. But just going out there, just being able to race against that competition at D1 schools, just schools all over the country is a lot of fun. And then being able to hang out with them afterwards, even though it's about 100 degrees out there, is it's fun.
Can you hear the music during the race?
Um, at certain parts, I guess you can, especially at the beginning of the race. But after the beginning of the race, if you're really into the race and just your mindset's in the race, you really don't hear anything. So, I hear it at the beginning, but when I get back in the woods, I don't really hear anything.
Okay, because I know some of the girls had noticed because they were playing "Let It Go,"
Yeah.
during the girls' race. Um, I didn't. I really wasn't paying attention to the guys' race what they were playing. But did you go back and watch yourself on the TV show afterwards?
Yeah. I think when I got back home, I think me and my mom and dad, I think we went through it a little bit. I don't know if we necessarily watched the whole thing because then it's a long race, but I think we kind of peeked in there to see where our teammates are at or where I was at to see. But yeah, I think a little bit, a little bit.
All right. So what has been your favorite experience? And I kind of asked you something that's similar, but so far you've been here for 2 years. What has been your favorite experience of those 2 years? If you can look back, something that has stood out to you, like one experience.
Um, One experience. I think going from the first year we were at well, not when Tyler was there, when that was your first year, but my first year when we went to the conference championship, um, just underrated, I guess you could say, not knowing what everybody was facing because none of us had ever been there other than maybe Tyler or a couple of the guys. But going from that conference championship to this past conference championship, when people knew about us more, um, kind of knew that we were there, knew we had knew we were competition now. I think that's the exciting experience, knowing that they're not looking down on us anymore, knowing that we're there with them. And then obviously the conference championship this year where I finished second all team or second all conference.
Yeah.
I don't know what position it was, but that was fun being able to finish up there with some of the strong guys.
Um, it was it was a difference between your first year when we were at conference compared to this year. I mean, that first year you were here, nobody really knew us. I mean, we were
Yeah.
kind of just there, and then once we finished where we did, people were kind of surprised. And then this year, people were talking about hey, don't let this kid beat you. Don't let this guy beat you. Don't let, them beat you. So they were talking
Yeah.
about us. And,
Yeah.
some of we were in the mix between 3 and 5. I told y'all that going into the race. Between 3 and 5, that's where we were going to finish, depending on how we raced and the other teams raced. And
Hmm.
but I think we're going to make a bigger move next year. I think
Yeah.
it all depends on what we do over the summer. Um, how would you evaluate your past season?
Um. For most, for I don't even know. I guess for most of my seasons, I could say the same thing, is that starting out too slow. But then I've always bet on myself at the end of the year when it was against the best competition. I feel like I raced the best then, especially in the conference championship, and just Disney and all that. I felt like I raced really good from then on out. Regionals, that one kind of hurt. I felt like I could do good, but getting hurt on that one hill there kind of put a sting in that. But other than that, I felt like my year was a good year. Got back to, what was it, the 26s this year, so
Yeah.
I think it was 26s. But other than that, I thought it was a pretty good year.
The way I saw your year, you progressively got faster every single race. And um, if we could have started off at a faster pace, we've had this discussion about you starting off with a faster time and then ending up with even a faster time than what you had this year. Um, but I thought you did good. You did have that injury at regionals. I think it was like within the first mile and a half, give or take.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
were
it sucked.
you were in the top 20 in the
Yeah,
region. You were
yeah,
running great. Um, So, going into next season, we've talked about it. I think if you can get a better base going into the beginning of the school year, I think you could be running mid to low 25s.
yeah.
But, that all depends on you. Um, so, your senior goals next year, you're going to be a senior when it comes to athletics. What's your goal?
Championship. That's the main goal. I don't see anything else that really means anything else other than championship. I would love to go to conference and win a championship in cross country. Obviously, that's going to be hard, but I think with the guys that we have on the team right now, and especially with the way some of them were finishing out the year, because I felt like our cross country team finished out really good. Regionals it was a harder race, but I think other than that, I think we finished out pretty good. Um, with PD stepped up big. Obviously Connor and Andrew were there. They're good runners. You got Philly, who is new into the system, but he ran good, and then just Malik and all the other guys, Parker and all that. I mean, they were running good. But I think my goal is just a championship, whether that's I would love to do it as an individual, but if it's not as an individual, then obviously as a team. And then really going to the Disney Classic and finishing as high as we possibly can would also be pretty huge. But yeah,
So, my goal for you would be finish top 3 in the conference. And then and when you run at regionals, finish at minimum top 7 as an individual, and the individuals that advance to the nationals. Um, so that's my goal. My goal for you is to run at the national championships this year. Last year, you're gonna have to put it all out there, but you've got the talent. It's just depending on, if we do the right type of work. Um,
yeah.
so how would your teammates describe you?
Um, I, competitive, hopefully competitive, athletic, and funny. I guess is probably what they would say. Hopefully, I'm very competitive, whether it's playing volleyball on Sundays as a team or playing basketball in the gym. I'm probably as competitive as it comes. But I also like to joke around. You know, in serious moments, there's always a time. I feel like there's always a time where you can just sit back and just enjoy or take a laugh in. But other than that, yeah, competitive, funny. I hope that's what they would say.
One of the funny stories I had, I don't know if it's a funny story, but a good highlight of knowing you guys is, I think it was last year, you guys were in the 4-on-4 intramurals, and y'all invited me to come over there and watch y'all play ball. And I was walking over there thinking all my goofy looking cross country kids are going to get beat in the intramural sports, especially basketball. And I go over there and y'all are winning by like 30, 40 points, and you've got 44 points in a game and hit like 6, 7
Yeah.
3-pointers.
A lot of the guys that are in school, they underrate the cross country guys. I know we got a good squad on the cross country team that can play some ball.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised. That's one of the highlights. One of the funny stories that I share with everybody. So do you have a teammate that has influenced you or has been a positive influence to you at all?
Yeah, probably it wouldn't just be one. It's just a lot of the guys. We do everything together. Connor's obviously, I think he's a huge influence on all of us. He's a quality worker outside the season, and in the classroom. So is Andrew. And then, Petey and all them, Jay Sean Parker and all them. I know I spend a lot of my time with those guys, because we got a little bit more in common. But hanging around them is just, it's a lot of fun. But they definitely, brought the team together, hanging out with them and everybody. So, but you got your Connor, you got your Andrew, and work hard in the classroom and outside the classroom, and the rest of the guys also do that. But everybody just kind of sings together here on the team. So it's not just one.
So, all right. So do you have a favorite running movie?
Running movie. It's probably the most cliche one, but it's probably Prefontaine. And I also have another one that doesn't necessarily deal with running, but it's Secretariat. I usually, in high school, I watched that movie for almost every high school race the night before, because just how badly the horse beat everyone else makes you want to run.
That's pretty cool. I've never seen it, and I've never heard anybody say that they watched that before a race.
Yeah.
I like, the movie Prefontaine. There's 2 versions of that, Prefontaine and Without Limits. Have you seen Without Limits?
I think I have, but it's been so long since I've watched it. But I think I have seen them all.
Prefontaine's a lot better to me than the Without Limits one.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite pair of running shoes, like brand type?
I'm a big fan of Nike. I know a lot of people don't necessarily like Nike running shoes, and they go with the more running based shoe departments and like ASIC and Brooks and all that. But I'm a big fan of Nike. Just Nike, the Nike Pegasus. Big fan of those.
Oh yeah, Pegasus are old school. I wore Pegasus back in the '90s, man. I like Pegasus. So what do you do? I think I already know. What do you do besides for fun besides running?
About every other sport on the planet.
Basketball.
Basketball. Basketball is huge, especially with me and teammates. That's probably the number one thing that we do outside of running, which can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. But running, soccer. I love soccer. Been doing that for like 17 years now. So do that in the off season. And then video games. I mean, a lot of the guys play together on the video game systems and everything.
Yeah.
Eating. I think that's big.
Yeah. And you still haven't beat me in horse in basketball yet.
Yeah, stop beaching horse. That's the one thing that bugs me.
I think Jay Sean got me, but he got lucky. I don't know how he got me.
Yeah, Jay Sean did get lucky.
But you still got one more year to try to get me. What are you studying? What's your area of studying?
It's organizational management with a concentration in sports. It's kind of broad, but you can kind of take it to being a coach, or what I want to do is be an athletic director one day. But other than that, you can take it to a lot of different places.
Okay. All right. So tell me, not just in running, but in life. Tell me somebody influential in your life, somebody that's played a big role in your
Um, I could probably give it probably. I mean, you could say your mom and your dad. But they obviously have had a huge impact on my life. But I get to see them most days. If you're talking about somebody that kind of don't get to see a lot, it would probably Coach Wenham. My high school track, well, partly my high school track coach. Um, he's had a huge impact on my life. Just especially when I'm not around, like especially when the season's out, he helps me just get back to where I need to be running wise. And I've known him for a very long time for various reasons. But he's been a big influence on me. And then probably my Uncle Roger. Well, I call him Uncle Roger. He keeps me in place. He keeps me my mindset on school and just getting a career started, especially for me and my future wife, whoever that may be. Um, but other than that, probably those two main people.
life? Okay, that's cool. All right, so the end of the interview is so you got to tell me a joke, corny joke, whatever.
God, oh, I thought about this. I don't know any jokes. The biggest joke to me is you probably hate it, but the biggest joke to me is probably UNC basketball. That's a joke in and of itself.
No, you don't have like a corny joke to tell me?
I never tell jokes. Never tell jokes. I have no jokes. Ask the guys. I never tell jokes.
All right. All right. Well, look, is there anything else that you wanted to say before you got off of here? Something that we didn't touch on?
Obviously, if any future runners or recruits are looking at this, or just people that want to go to Wesleyan, Wesleyan is definitely it'll surprise you in good ways. Professors are great. The campus is really nice. They keep it well maintained. And the running program is on the rise. We're here and we're not going anywhere. And next year we'll show that.
All right. Well, look, it was great talking to you, and we're gonna go ahead and log off this interview, and I'll see you soon.
All right. See you.
All right, man. Hey, look,
All
thanks
right.
for doing that. I just stopped the
Yeah. All right.
later.
Later.